Hello and welcome back to I Create For You. I'm going to be going into the Yellowstone Ghost Stories book, and I'm going to be reading a story of the very first missing person in Yellowstone National Park. And it didn't really give an idea of where he's haunting, or not, I shouldn't say haunting, where his spirit is gliding or seen or anything like that. So I'm just going to try to do my own interpretation after the story is over. LeRoy Piper, lost forever. During its quarter of a century in operation, the Fountain Hotel was said to be a cut above the rest. As one of the larger hotels and having the latest of comforts, it catered to the more affluent and wealthy tourists. The hotel boasted a grand social life, and with one of Fort Yellowstone's soldier stations just up the road, it was often filled with dashing young men in uniform who only added to its classic charm. The hotel had its share of mysteries. This is one of the stories we know, but surely there are more. Though the hotel stood for only a few decades, the Piper mystery has haunted us for more than a century. It's probably one of the most famous Yellowstone stories, and still not much is known, except that a guest stepped away from the hotel one evening and utterly vanished. LeRoy R. Piper came to Yellowstone from St. Mary's, Ohio. He was a bank cashier for the First National Bank of St. Mary's and had a personal worth of approximately $100,000, a grand sum in those days. He was most likely a man of substance and clout. He wore 2 diamond rings and his fraternal organization pins. Naturally, the upper crust Fountain Hotel suited him to a T. Piper was on his way to San Francisco to settle his late uncle's estate. Being in the West, he probably felt that a quick trip to the famous park would be the experience of a lifetime and another boost for his social standing. Piper arrived at the Fountain Hotel on July 29, 1900. He probably arrived by the customary form of transportation, a stagecoach pulled by a team of horses and driven by one of the transportation company's drivers. He and other tourists would have been coming from Mammoth Hot Springs, where tourists usually stayed their first night in the park. The next day, July 30th, it's speculated that Piper and other tourists would have traveled to the Upper Geyser Basin to witness the famous Old Faithful Geyser and other rambunctious geysers shooting their scalding water hundreds of feet into the sky. After spending the day exploring the magnificent sights, Piper may have returned to his room to write to his wife in Ohio. After a brief rest, he would have washed and dressed for supper, and then Distinguished Piper most likely would have descended the staircase promptly on the hour. He'd blend in with the other prominent men, and wearing his fine blue suit and linen shirt monogrammed with his initials, he would truly be a testament to sophistication and good taste. The banker probably spent time before dinner engaged in financial conversations, this being his favorite subject. He would lend advice to someone and possibly pick up a stock market tip from fellow guests. The seasoned sleuth always tried to reconstruct a crime scene, but with this one there is little to go on. All reports, books, and stories by the same thing. Purchased a cigar from a stand. Piper, oh boy. All reports, books, and stories say the same thing. After dinner on the evening of July 30th, Piper purchased a cigar from a stand in the hotel lobby, stepped outside onto the hotel porch, and was never seen again. We were not able to determine exactly when Piper was missed, but surely by the next morning after breakfast was served, the stagecoach packed, and the visitors assembled, his absence was noted. We know a call was made to park authorities and the cavalry was dispatched to search for him. The search continued for a month, but by September no trace of him had been found and the search was abandoned. Interviews with the hotel staff and other guests no doubt were conducted, and the conclusion was obviously the same. He just vanished. During the park's investigation, Mr. Piper wired Mr. J.H. Dean, the Yellowstone Park Association manager, and offered a reward of $1,000 for the return of her husband or the remains of his body. As a last attempt to find her husband, Mrs. Piper sent her brother to the park to conduct his own investigation. Piper's brother-in-law traveled to Yellowstone and questioned everyone he could, following every possible lead. For nearly a month, he even slept outdoors, hoping he could somehow follow the howls of coyotes and find the remains of his brother-in-law. He found nothing. In December, Piper was given up for dead. What really happened to Piper? Did he meet someone who later followed him into the darkness and murdered him for his expensive jewelry and cash? Was his body dumped into a nearby hot pool to get rid of it? Perhaps after his own dinner, he became dinner for the grizzly bear that frequented the garbage dump in the back of the hotel. Perhaps Piper accidentally came across a grizzly bear in the dark, and the startled bear killed Piper and dragged away his body to feast on later. Or maybe Piper just stepped into the black night and, not knowing the area very well, fell into one of the hot pools all by himself, his body disintegrating in the boiling water. Not knowing what happened to LeRoy R. Piper is disturbing enough, but knowing there will never be an ending to his story is somewhat bizarre. That's what makes his story a true Yellowstone mystery. Perhaps Piper's ghost is in the steam that floats across the lower Geyser Basin, forever trying to find its way back to the comfort and safety of the Fountain Hotel. I don't know, this Fountain Hotel, it seemed to have a lot of strange stories coming out of it, with a lot of spirits in it. So, man, I don't know if I'd want to stay there. As much as I love a good ghost story. So, being that I'm not sure too much about what he looks like, I Googled and tried to find what he might look like, or any kind of images, and there's no pictures of him. So it's like, wow. I mean, like, he's really disappeared. You think him being so prominent, there would have been some kind of photos or something to let us see, who he was. And I didn't find anything on Google. Nothing. I Googled him and there was nothing. Just old articles stating he was the first one to ever go missing in Yellowstone National Park, and how much of a mystery it was that his body was never found, and he just seemed to have just magically, well, I wouldn't call it magic, but somehow he just disappeared with no trace and has never been found. So he's like the long-standing missing person. So this is my interpretation of him being out in the night, not knowing where he was going, but just following a path, following his own path, and disappearing forever. And that's just my interpretation of it. He could have just went anywhere. He could be by the springs like they said. I've been there, I'd say 3 times. I think I've seen, I saw El Faithful twice now. And the way it is now, it's just like, I don't think there would be a way you could get lost. It's so full of people and tourists and everything. Maybe you could get lost in the shuffle, but I mean, I just don't. That's just unreal that no one really knows what happened to him after that dinner. That he just vanished. So, well, it wasn't as long of a story as I thought it was going to be, because I know there's some quite long ones in there that I might have to have my husband read while I sketch, because it'll be way too long. My camera's a piece of poop, So it doesn't, I can't go over too many minutes, or just fights me to upload it. So anyway, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Comment and tell me what you think may have happened, what your scenarios might have been, and if you've ever heard of this story, or if you know any other things that weren't told in that book. It'd be great to find out little tidbits of this mystery. Now, thank you so much for listening to the ghost story and watching me sketch my interpretation. And I hope to see you in the next video. And please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you guys on whatever Wednesday. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now.